And we're live. Good
right.
evening, my whiskey brothers and sisters and malt mates, and welcome to Book 2, Episode 3 of the Alberta Scotch Society and Friends Whisky Book Club. As always, we are honored to have you, the viewer, and our panel, this most excellent panel, with us here tonight. You'll recognize most of them as they've all been here on either the After Dram or the Whisky Book Club. So this is a good night. Because we're continuing our journey, and I really, just like every Saturday night, I get to spend my time with you guys, and that's a wonderful thing. So specifically tonight, we're talking about chapters 7 through 9 of this book right there, Ralfy, The Search for a Whiskybothy. So for those of you that are brand new to what we're doing, a quick rundown. First and foremost, this is for lovers of whiskey and all things whiskey. And tonight in particular, we're talking about a little bit of whiskey literature, although I don't know if I'm calling this literature, but let's call it for now. Second, it's about the camaraderie and what comes with sharing a dram and a book and an adventure together. And like Ralfy, one thing I respect most about Ralphy is he delves into the adventure. He loves it. And that's what we're having. Tonight, we'll be drinking Ralfy's 2012 Whisky of the Year Glendronach Revival. And that's that one there. I don't know if you could read it. Probably not. Well, actually, why don't I show you the bottle? That's the bottle there. And thank you to Sean, who gave us another bottle. Glendronach 12 year. It's a 2013 bottling. And this is a 13-year-old whiskey sherry cask. And we're going to compare both of those. And you'll know I like to double fist it. So we're going to try these a little bit later in this show. See how things go. So, and at the end of this, like in all previous weeks, we are going to finish our time together and then come back for another hour meet. We like talking to each other. So right after this, we're going to have the after dram, 5 minutes, and it's a very fun, very relaxed, a little bit more pointed discussion time with each other. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start us all off and with introductions from our panel. If you could tell us your names and what you go by as your other handles. I'll start us off. I'm Dolph Shaw. I'm the president of the Alberta Scotch Society, and I am your host tonight. And let's go and focus on one person at a time. Let's see. Nick was hidden before, so let's start with Nick, shall we?
I'm Nicole Lennick, also go by Nick, and you can find me on Instagram as Black Hat Whiskey.
Excellent. And let's go to Dave.
Hi, guys. It's Yukon Dave from his basement again. You can get me at YukonDave_EDM.
Excellent. And let's get that. And we're going to go to Drew.
Hi, Drew Semper, calling from my basement. And I'm Drew Semper on all the social media ones that I'm on.
Every possible thing. Oh, and Sean popped off. Let's go back. Just getting him on. But we're going face on with Don.
I'm Don. You can find me on all social media as The Whiskey Dive.
Excellent. And we'll finish it off with this kind sir. Oh, sorry. I think you're frozen. And like I said, we're going to do tonight, we're going back and forth from people. And this is our other person that we're going to see.
Nope.
And there we go.
My name is Kent. I'm also go by Whiskey Dive, and I'm starting with a cocktail tonight.
Don't you
You're not Whiskey Dive?
Oh, sorry, God, whiskey ass. I've been talking to the boys.
We'll talk later.
It's been a long day. Can you tell? The hair's all messed and everything.
And we're gonna see if we can get Sean on here. Let's go back to Sean. Can we get him live? All right, there we go. Introduction, Sean. Oh, sorry. Your mic's off. Unmute. I just unmuted you.
There we go. Okay. Sean Kincaid. I go by @Sean Kincaid on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, week 2 for me, and should be an interesting night, that's for sure.
I think so. Alrighty. And all back to us. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. So, actually, can I see that last one, please? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're good. I just wanted to check, make sure everything's in order. We've got everyone we wanted to tonight. Everyone's on. And here we go. We're going to start right on with the first quote. And I've got the quote on here, so everyone can read at the same time. It says, "The clock ticks slightly faster as I seek to capture more time in a sustained amber glow of happiness. As usual, it's all about strategy, planning, and everything set up and ready to go without interruptions by phone, door, or even TV, which is by far the worst interruption of all." So last time, we said that we weren't really understanding him any better, but I think this quote tells us quite a bit about Ralfy. What do you guys think? Anyone pipe in? And I'm going to try to figure out where that feedback is coming from and try to mute it. Yeah. So do we get to know him better? Are we knowing Ralfy better than we did last week or 2 weeks ago?
I mean, it's, when you read Ralfy's book, it's so jumpy that it's hard to kind of follow where he is. And then you have moments like this, the quote that you just put up, where, you know, it kind of gives you an idea of how he likes to enjoy his whiskey. He likes to eliminate all distractions, altogether, and just take the glass as it is, nose it to get the scent that you have. When you're watching TV or listening to other things, you know, some descriptors could subliminally come across your experience of the whiskey. And I think that's what he's getting at, is to take it in its purest, the nose as is, the taste as is, all based on your own memory and your own experiences rather than any outside influences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dolph, you're
I was
muted.
going to say also, like a lot of times when I'm at home and having a dram, I'll sit beside my wife watching TV, doing whatever. That's just an every night dram, kind of sitting there relaxing. But if it's something new or something that I really want to get into, I'll come sit in my den, close the barn doors, and just turn the lights off, maybe even put on something quiet in the background and just fade into the whiskey, let it just overtake everything so I can find every little nuance in it. And I find that is kind of what Ralfy does too.
He does get pretty in-depth in his whiskey. It works out very, very well. All right, we're going next. He intends that night, so as we start in chapter 7, he intends to fall asleep there on the floor with his cushions all around him, the fire blaring right in front of him, and with his whiskey flight of 7. And outside, it's a blustery night, but he decides, I'm going to stay in. And is this something any of you have ever done on purpose, falling asleep in front of the fire? Like with the intent, I'm going to just sit here, drink, and fall asleep. Anyway,
after reading that chapter, no.
And we'll talk about chapter 7 in the after dram when things get more pointed.
Few more moments I want back.
Never intentionally.
Yeah,
nope. I've got there accidentally.
Well, I think most of us have, and the little nodding off at night, I think just about everyone has. I can't picture anyone not, with whiskey or without whiskey. Yeah. But I'm wondering if anyone maybe plans on doing it now.
Well, I know if I get into my lazy boy and recline it, I know that I'm going to doze off shortly.
You're out for the night.
And it's I jump in there just because I know I'm going to have a nap.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Drew?
Not intentionally laid down in front of the fire with a bunch of whiskey. But yeah, have fallen asleep in the backyard with the fire on a time or occasion or two.
Oh, and it's a fun thing. It sure. You know, it's relaxing. You're there. You got the fire. You've got the rain with him in that case, the wind, the rain. It's a nice kind of evening to be in. And to have 7 drams, I think it's always a good time. So
Yeah.
I'm going to the next question. And I only looked this one up today, but I'm leaving this to you guys. His music choices in Chapter 7, when he sits down that night, is Run Rig, which is Scottish Celtic rock. And their lead singer, their newest lead singer is from Nova Scotia, so there's a Canadian link there. Tannahill Weavers, traditional Scottish music. And they're one of the very first to incorporate the bagpipes into everybody. So not just focusing on the bagpipes leading into music, but into the music. And Clannad, Clannad, which is Irish folk rock. So I was gonna ask if you looked them up. Did you ever hear of them? I hadn't heard of any of them, but I looked them up. And after that question, what are your choices on a night when it's just you and the fire or whatever it is? What's your music in the background when you're relaxing with the dram? And I'm just going to leave it on the screen. Pipe up anytime, anyone.
All right, I'll go.
All right.
I didn't check those guys out because I was on the deck all day. That's why I'm all sunburned. But I always put on some blues music.
It's blues. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got a couple that I usually put on. I think it's the greatest hits of the Righteous Brothers, the Everly Brothers. Some old timey music. I listen to a lot of music that not very many people have heard of. But there's a band called Lydia out of Arizona, and it's just one guy now, but they used to be a full band, and they ran the gamut of nice, chill, relaxing, some say depressing music, but
it's good.
I don't know, it's something that I can just sit there, have on in the background, and relax with my whiskey and drift off into wherever it takes me.
Perfect. I'm going to click you off so I can put Whiskey Ass on. You're coming back there, Sean, but give me a sec. And
So-
anyone else while I'm doing
Yeah.
Whiskey Ass?
I tend to change what I listen to depending on the mood. I've had anything from classic rock to opera to classical to jazz, country. It all depends on what mood I'm in.
Good stuff.
I've got to
Nicole?
second what Drew said. It depends on the mood. So I know of Run Rig. I have Run Rig. I listen to Travis as well, which is another Scottish band. Same sort of folksy country rock, a little bit of mix of that Celtic base to it. But you know what? There are days where I'm drinking whiskey and listening to Rob Zombie, and that's my happy point. Or you're into dance and electronics. So I like to have choice.
Good. Kent, what's up?
You're muted, Ken.
Oh, he's muted. Well, Dave, it's you.
I already went. I went
Yeah,
first.
Dave started.
Oh, sorry.
Dave
Still
started.
the same
I'm
answer?
getting confused bringing people in. It's all me now. All right, Kent, you're on.
Oh, am I on or is Dave going to talk?
No,
Nope, you-
I already talked.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is a little confusing coming in and out. But yeah, I listen to everything 50s up till now with the exception of country music. Cannot stand most country. Unless it's, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. But, there's a soft spot there. So, but yeah, I like Nick said it best. I mean, there's days that Rob Zombie just does it. And there's other days that, I'm listening to something in the 80s or 50s or, sorry, cell phone's going off. Yeah, it's, and it's kind of interesting how your mood affects what you drink. And there's a reason there's a couple hundred bottles back here because I never know what day is going to be what bottle. And some days it starts out with a Lafroig, and other days it starts out with a Glenfarclas, right? Seldomly those other soft, nice floral ones, and I won't mention names. Those are for the wife. She likes those.
Can I change my answer?
Yes, you can.
I'm just going to add to it. It's a lot of older rock and roll.
Okay.
Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Creedence.
Mm-hmm.
It's
little
just
bit of Bob
all,
Seger in there.
CTR, yeah.
all
Okay.
mixed in there. I just push the button and it's the same thing just goes through.
And for me, I'm hitting kind of two things right now. I'm really Nora Jones and something like that, where it's just lounge music and you're just getting into it, and just some type of jazz. Blues works, but I like the jazz, the instrumental when I'm drinking. And I mean alone, there's no one else around. The other one is Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix 1. And I'm fucking listening to that a lot. So, yeah, just everything, right? So let's go on to the other one. I'm going to bring Don. I'm going to click you out just because I'm doing the rotation. And let's get Sean back in here. And my next question being, I like seeing people's processes and tasting and getting to know things. And it could be whiskey or anything else. So here's the quote I want to put on right here. This one. Yeah. So this one is a full cask strength, small batch, and only through trial and error do I navigate the perfect amount of water for adding to induce this bliss point of smell and taste connection. This is an acquired skill. So I like the bliss point thing. So this is something I've thought about a bit, but I can't say I've nailed it or know at what point I finish. And he seems to gotten to a point where he knows very well how much he's putting in and out. So anyone else know where their bliss point is?
I put a little bit in, and then I kind of keep experimenting because I think each whiskey's a little different.
Yeah, I tend to add a little bit of water using like the pipettes to when I'm trying to pick out the flavors and the nose. But once I've done that, I don't tend to water down my my cask strength. It's just to get the initial flavors when you first get the bottle.
Well, in some casks I'll drink straight, but some I have to put water in because I can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's especially when you're getting up in the high 50s and something that's got a lot of pepper on it. I'll tend to add 3 or 4 drops of water, try and bring it down a little bit. But for the most part, I like it. I like a lot of alcohol in it. I like my caustic. So,
yeah, I always want to taste what the distiller is trying to tell me, and I'll decide whether I got to put something in it or not.
Yeah, because for the most part, this is how they want you to taste it. So why would you change what they're saying?
I agree, but I still want to try to have, and well, Nick is on here. Here we go. Nick said good evening, and he is he's a proponent of never putting water in anything. Nick and I, we love our cask strength whiskeys, and every time I try to put a couple drops in it, I always get this look from him. And it's like, and he's insulted when I put the water in. But I'm trying to still find the point. And Ralfy talks about when he actually takes the drops and goes back and back and back to it, and getting it to the perfect point. But when you watch Ralfy, he seems to know, like when you see him online, he just takes the spoonful and puts spoonful after spoonful. It doesn't seem to be like 12 drops or 7 drops. It doesn't seem to be perfect. He just seems to know where it is. And I have no idea where it is. How about let's go to Don, who likes his bourbon a lot. And that's the one thing I do have with a lot of water. So I'm going to see if Don has that. What do you think there, Don?
Well, I mean, for most of my bourbon, I don't add a terrible amount of water to it. There's some where it's just so overwhelming with oak that you'll add some water to kind of mellow it out, get the oils moving and try and find some of the hidden flavors in it. But I tend to add water more to my scotches than I do to my bourbons because I feel like scotch has more layers. Bourbon's pretty much, bourbon.
Bourbon's bourbon. Same thing. Okay. And that is one of the only things I do. Bourbon is the only things I do on the rocks. I have ice with bourbon, and it's really just a summertime thing. Unless I'm doing a tasting with you, Don, online, and then I'm going neat, and then trying a little bit of water.
Here's my bourbon.
That's yours.
I agree. I like the high proof bourbons, and I love having just a big solid ball of ice. have that in there, and doesn't seem to dilute it too much. But yeah, especially in the summer, sitting on the deck around the fire, that's pretty much my go-to. Unless that Glen Ord that we had last night, that one I could see sitting around the fire with.
Perfect. And one thing I should do, because I got hecked by a couple people on Sunday. So I didn't introduce my lovely sister, because she's in the comments, and she piped up last week, and there she is. Oh. Hey, bro, have fun tonight. I didn't do a shout out. I put her out there, and then Kent was really mean to me on Sunday. He said, how could you not say hi to your sister? So for Kent right here, Mr. Whiskey Ass, and myself, and everyone else on the panel, welcome to my lovely sister, Tracy Lynn Shaw. I hope you are having some of the Loch Lomond that I gave you as you're watching this tonight. So that's it. We had to put Nick off for a side because we were getting lots of feedback off of Nick, and maybe we'll figure that out and try to get that back in a little bit. All right. So we had the music, but I didn't get the answer. Did you guys, except Nick said she liked Runrig, did anyone else hear about them previously? You actually look it up?
Not yet.
Not yet? I like Runrig.
Yep. Yeah, they've got a nice beat to them.
Yep. It's good. We're going to go to the great quote section. Does anyone else have a great quote they're thinking of? I'll give you a chance to get it out if you had one. And I
got my favorite again.
Do you? All right. You want to go first?
Oh, hey, just a minute. Now I got to find it. Oh, here.
Oh, yeah.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
We should always be inspired by bad people and assholes. They are living examples of how we should not choose to live life. So I used it last week, and I still like it this week.
And it's still relevant today.
It is.
All right. Anyone else?
Yep, I've got one.
All right.
Better smell and better taste with considerably less intoxication is conducive to a better life, and that includes increasing the number of years that we might potentially enjoy living.
That's a great one. I like that quote.
That sounds good, yeah. Anyone else? I'll put mine up if no one's got theirs. All right. So for me, I had a damn good reason for them to attend. Whiskey. I would offer them whiskey, the water of life, the alchemic fusion of fire and water. And that's the part I like, the alchemic fusion of fire and water. That's on page 91. And going from very good whiskey, let's talk about what's in our cups right now, if we can, please, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to get this banner off because I've been looking at it entirely too long. And, oh, not that one. So, what do we have in our drams? What are we thinking?
Oh, the unofficial whiskey.
The official one, yeah. Not the secondary that we're comparing. The original one. What do we think?
Some subtle sherry and dark chocolate.
Yeah. Okay.
A little woody must kind of to it.
I could go for that.
I can get that cherry now.
Yeah, it feels kind of muted though. Am I the only one that thinks that?
No,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
How long have you had it out? Mine's been out for about an hour, and I'm not really getting that right now, but I think I did right off the beginning. Nope.
Oh, was that to me?
Yes.
I've had it out for half an hour.
Okay. Nope. Should be good.
Yeah.
Although we might want to give it a bit more time. I'm not sure. The nose.
Yeah.
So the sherry nose is good. I find it deep.
Yeah.
Sean, you?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. The wood is definitely present. The sherry and the oak, I find it's a little bit hot, but not in any spicy or anything. I think it's just the wood showing through as a little bit of heat.
Yeah.
You find it very dry.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a nice dram. Nothing spectacular about it, but an easy everyday drinker.
Mm-hmm.
But it follows what Ralphy likes, the non-chill filtered, the no coloring, accessible to everybody, not too expensive. And the percentage, did I say it was 46? Does anyone remember? Yeah, 46%.
Yep, 46.
Yeah.
So it hits all of the points that Ralfy likes a lot. And this is one of his first ones. And I'm guessing, well, actually, I know this bottle was a 2018 and his was 2012. So maybe the 2012 and 2018 are entirely two different things.
Yeah,
and Kent and I figured that out last time when we had the Bunnahabhain 12, when we compared his 12, Ralfy's 12 with the new 12, two different beasts completely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we both
I will
heard the older.
I will
version.
confirm this Glendronach 15 is way different than the old bottling. In
Okay.
2012, I think the 15 would have been about 18 years old. The whiskey in the 2012, somewhere around there. It wasn't actually 15-year-old whiskey.
Okay. And let's compare it. So we're comparing. Sean's, you want to talk about yours just for a quick sec?
Yeah, sure. So we're comparing it to this one. I'll show it. It's a Glendronach 12. Now the difference is this is a bottle from 2013. Glendronach closed down for 6 years, I believe in 1996 till 2002. They never stopped releasing their age statements. It was a decision that they made, but then it also let us whiskey nerds know that the bottles that we had, the whiskey in it was older than it is.
Yeah.
So if you think like 2002 when they reopened, to have a 12-year, that would have put it around 2014 would have been an actual 12-year. So 2013 for the Glendronach 12 is the magic year, and it's actually 18-year-old whiskey. So the Glendronach 15 we're drinking is 15-year-old whiskey, and the Glendronach 12 that we're drinking is 18-year-old whiskey.
This is funny, right? Don, do me a favor. Can you put yours up again? Because with the white backdrop, you can see the color out of yours way better than mine. So if you look at Don and mine, my backdrop is dark, so it looks dark.
Yeah, this is the 15. This is the 12.
Yeah.
And both of mine are 2019 bottles.
Oh, okay. Oh, with the white. Thank you, Dave. Now, I like the nose better on Sean's, which no shot to Ralfy, but I like the nose better on Sean's. I haven't tasted it yet, but thoughts on Sean's nose?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of round and, a little bit plump.
It's got some hair under. I get it.
Yeah. Sorry, Sean.
Hey, I've been teased about my nose my whole life. It's not something I've never been heard.
Oh, I don't need to pick on something.
I think I prefer the 12 to the 15.
Yeah.
And on the palate, it's creamier as well.
Creamier, a little more rounded out. I think I like the 12 far more than the 15.
Yeah, I do too.
At least for the 2019 bottles. I'm not sure what you guys have.
Yeah, the 12 is definitely nice and creamy.
I'm not getting a whole bunch of it's lingering, but it's not really changing for me. Anyone else get a change in Sean's? See what it goes from? Because I was hoping to get from sweet to a little bit of spicy, but it just stayed sweet for me. Anyone else?
Mine goes like creamy and then kind of dark fruity. I don't get much spice at all.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping for like the Christmas spice with the sherry cask influence, right? But yeah, it's just like the sweetness and the you could call it buttery, I guess. Just
and it leaves like that feeling you get when you bite a Granny Smith apple, that kind of tart, like sour tinge on the back of your tongue. I get the same feeling on the back of my tongue with the 12, which I kind of enjoy.
Oh, that one's from Nick.
Yeah.
All right. Heavy metal with Celtic heavy metal as you're drinking your whiskey. That's kind of a party atmosphere, I'm thinking. That's not the back of the yard watching or looking at your fire and enjoying nature and the wind blowing by. It's
No.
like
like Nick said, she put Rhinestein to shame. She went off very heavy metal on that one.
Yeah.
It's
there we go.
Quite fun to listen to.
Well, what do we call them? It's black metal. It's Ramstein, they're from Germany. Well, Ramstein,
Ramstein from
but
Germany.
do we call them punk? Are they
No.
No, you're not
It's
a punk
like
at
death
all.
metal.
Death metal.
Metal,
Thank you.
yeah.
Sorry, guys. On a tangent, I'm like a dog with the thing. It's like I see a new comment and I'm back and forth.
Shiny. Nick, back in the. Did you get back on her?
You know what? Let's try to get Nicole back on right now because we want to get her opinion. So I'm going to click off on Drew for a quick second.
Okay.
I'll see you back, buddy.
I thought it was my turn.
Well, then you're next. You're out of here.
I thought
Nicole?
you were around the horn.
Oh, there's no horn. You're all different slots for me. It switches for different people.
Oh,
Nicole, what do you get?
She's muted.
Nope, she's unmuted.
I get a lot of raisins, dates, bacon spices.
So the heavy sherry influence for you. Okay.
Yeah. Very dry on the mouth.
yeah, I got that. That's
All right. Well, you know what? It's enjoyable. Thank you very much, Sean, for bringing yours because I think yours added good. I always like having the two. And Dave's bringing it next week. We're doing the Glendronach. And although we're not doing Ralphie's choice, Dave's bringing Ralphie's choice, but we decided as a group that we didn't like Ralphie's choice and we went for something different. So you'll see what that is next week. So that's fun.
I have his choice as well.
All right.
Yeah,
And
both
Dave, we need
choices.
those samples, buddy. so we're good. So Dave, I'm going to take you off because it was your turn. Sorry, you're right. I got to be fair. I'm there, and Drew's back on. Hopefully, the people out there are not getting too confused by all the movement. We're going to the next question. So the whiskey was fantastic. I'm loving it. But let's talk about Ralfy. So we get to know what he believes is good quality whiskey on page 106. So if you got the books, you want to look at 106. It's got A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
Is there one category in there on page 106 that you like more than others? So it's kind of a two-parter. So let's do that one first, and I'll blow up whoever wants to talk about that first. Page 106, if you guys remember. And for me, I can't remember which one it was, but it was the Good Company one. Can someone tell me if was that C or D?
That was D.
D. The company changes my whiskey and my experience too easily. So I could not be a whiskey judge because if I was having a horrible day or the other judges were there, whoever's whiskey is in front of me would fail miserably. But if you had fantastic people around me, it would be a substandard whiskey that would taste fantastic. So I'm not the type of judge person. So that's me. But how about you guys?
So for me, it's C, which is the harmonious mindset, mood, and feeling created, then enhanced by positivity, articulation, and expressions of smell, flavor, and finish, a sort of aromatherapy thing. And that kind of just falls into my own little personal rule of drinking. If I'm in a bad mood or I had a bad day, I don't drink at all. I'd never want to put a negative association with whiskey. But yeah, right. But it's true. Like if you're having a really good day, everything in the glass is just like 10 times better.
I agree. I do. And
I actually, I'll go with E. It's the residual afterglow of profound satisfaction that something good and virtuous has happened in our lives, which lasts through deep and refreshing sleep, and over time amplifies the value of our lives to ourselves and others.
Nice.
So for me, I'm always one, whether it's a great book, good movie, good TV show, most of the time I'll be able to recognize it right off the bat, but a lot of times it'll be, in the morning after I've slept on it, or, the second time around that you see a show or see a movie, or even down the road when you're talking with a coworker or a family member about it and trying to explain it, get them into it. For whiskey, it's the same thing, like a lot of times I'll have a sample of something that people have raved about. And because it's just a sample, or if I have it in a flight, I probably won't have the same reaction. But there's been a lot of bottles over the years that I've had and, immediately run to everybody and tell them about it and just hope that they get the same thing. We
Yep.
talked last night about the Glenbergie 10 that I stumbled upon out here, and
Yep.
now we bought out all 50 bottles that the store had in 6 months. So, kind of that's what that reminded me of, was that Glenbergie. But over the last 6 months or so in my personal life, I've definitely found a lot more reasons to be thankful and appreciative of the little things in life. So that one really stuck out to me.
Perfect. And I wish I knew you 6 months ago so I could have found out about that Glenbergie. That would have been some type of fun. And
Well,
we're
I'm
referring
going
to
to try and track down some more.
Okay. If you do, I'm in. We're talking about last night, the Alberta Scotch Society, and everyone that's on the screen right now is part of the Alberta Scotch Society. We had our 5th online tasting last night, and it was Rare Drams that did Carnmore and no, I'm not going to go through all 6. It doesn't matter. It was a fantastic tasting, and they were on till whatever time. I left at 12:30. Kent, can you tell me what time everything ended?
I have no idea, because I left about 10 minutes after Travis fell asleep in his chair.
It was a fun time.
It was
for everybody.
And I have to say, Dave's beer kicked my ass last night. That 9% that's actually 12 in the can. Whew.
Well, stop drinking beer with your whiskey. That's
really delicious.
Double-fisted or third-fisted. We could do that. Anyone else? Nicole, did you have yours? Your favorite part?
Actually, no. I got more annoyed with it, and I wrote, "This is a load of BS."
Tell us why, please.
I found it to be pompous and snobbish, and it raised that whole level of snobbery in the whiskey world up for me, and it really pissed me off reading his little, it's an A, it's a B. I'm like, no, you can just drink to enjoy what's in your glass. Like, why do you have to have a reason? Why do you have to have a label?
All right, and we will talk about that again, or something very close to it in the after dram when it gets even more pointed than that. Fantastic. Drew, how about you?
Of all of them, I'd have to go B. The delivery and flavors of complex and subtle permutations of sensations, including sweet, salt, sour, bitter, and savory, in isolations and in the fusions, often both and at times very intensely. And I tend to find that in my collection, I'm leaning more towards the independent bottlers than the core range.
I'm there with you.
Because there's just so much variation in.
We're all there with you on that one.
Goes to one bottle to the next, and as opposed to they do change, but a core bottling, they're good, but
I have to say I think when we do the independent bottlers, and I think most of us like them a little bit more now, it's better to know what the, maybe not better, but I think it's important to know what the core range is. And you've been in the whiskey biz longer than me. You've been tasting these longer than me. It's good to have something to associate it with, to say, this is not what they usually taste like, but this is fantastic. Right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anyone else want to pipe in before I go to the next part? Dave, wave if you want to do something. If you want. All right, I'm going to bring you in. And I'm going to take Don out for a second, if that's all right, buddy.
Perfectly fine.
Thank you. And Dave, what was your favorite part of that?
Well, I'm probably doing a B and is it B and D? Like I really enjoy looking for flavors and trying to figure out what's going on, but also the company part of the whole thing is just changes my opinion of things dramatically. Yeah, I've probably got multiple answers on that one. It's all depending.
All right.
Like when I'm sitting here by myself, I'm looking for things. When I'm out with a group of people, it's the company.
Perfect. And I agree with the company part. But and Nicole will school us a little bit later what she thinks. And I try to get her go a little bit with another comment which I'm hoping she bites at. in the after dram as well, because I'm hoping for some fun in the after dram. What I do want to do right now is Dave suggested one video for us to watch. It was Ralfy number 85, and how to cope with a bad whiskey. And I suggested watching one of his, which is going to be 666 with his brother, and that one was called Bad Liquor with BigClive.com, his brother. And what I want to know from you guys is, do you have the same ideas as to what makes a good whiskey and what makes a bad whiskey? And I think my 666 review doesn't work with whiskey because it's all kids' drinks, like 17-year-old drinks that they make 18 or 19-year-olds buy for them. But let's stick with 85, what he thought a bad dram was and what he talks about now a good dram is. Do you guys agree with where he is? And would you change something in kind of one of his spheres of influence there?
What was the question again?
Holy cow. It's going to take me 5 minutes to do that, buddy. All right. What do you know now of what he likes? Because you know what he likes on that page. We also know from the video, number 85, which you suggested, what he doesn't like. Do you agree with him with what he likes and doesn't like? Would you add anything?
Well, I can't disagree with him because my taste buds aren't like he knows what he likes and I know what I like. So how do you disagree with the guy?
Oh, I need someone to disagree with him.
I disagree.
Good. Let's get you on.
The biggest thing that I find is he's so anti E150A, and I've heard this numerous times across the whiskey universe. To me, if it tastes good, I'll drink it. Do I want it to be pure? Of course I do. But knowing that some distilleries or some companies do put it in there, as long as they're transparent about it, I don't care. But if they're going to tell us that it's unchill filtered and no added color, and then you find out later that there is color, I don't like that at all. But some of my favorite whiskeys that I started off drinking were heavily colored, and you can tell. But they taste good, and I'll continue drinking them. So that's my biggest beef with his hard stance on that caramel coloring.
All right.
But don't you think he's kind of anti-corporate? He doesn't like corporate. He's not a corporate guy.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw this out there too. Maybe it's not so bad that some people do what they do. Let's say they use the colorants. Let's say they chill filter it. They obviously do it for a reason. And let's consider the business of whiskey. They're trying to appeal to a certain market. And if those people in that market want to buy the whiskey, what's wrong with them using the colorant? What's wrong with them chill filtering it so it doesn't get cloudy? And is it because he's trying to educate people, or he just wants people to think the same way as he does? And I don't know. Let's throw that up. Anyone think?
Well, a little tidbit. I don't know if it's rumor or fact, but chill filtering, I heard, actually came around back in the days of Hollywood when they were having their whiskey glass and they're putting ice into it, it would cloud up. So they started to chill filter it so the whiskey wouldn't cloud for the camera. Like I say, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the rumor I heard.
So I've read some scientific studies on chill filtering versus non-chill filtering, and basically it's a coin toss. You can't tell.
Well, you can tell with the mouthfeel, though.
I could tell you, all I can tell you is what I've read from universities and that kind of stuff, studying this stuff. And I've seen things that have fallen out of solution in spirits that if you had filtered those out, it would take away from the flavor.
Okay.
And I've done that test by myself. It's not scientific. It's in my basement, so who knows what.
Let's call it scientific. You were paying attention. It was good. Okay.
Well, I had a method. I had a method that I could reproduce the results.
Okay. All right. I want to show you guys a bottle. So I'll put this bottle on. We all see that? The lock do. And And here's his quote that goes with the lock do. So, well, and it's a small quote. It's not a very long one. It was right here. Arguably the most palate assaulting Scotch ever bottled, with that E150. Now, my question is around the E150 as well. So he has a definite problem with the E150, but he doesn't have a problem with this. Let's put that up with Pax Red. Now, I'll give some people a couple seconds to read that top part if you want, but he says it does no harm due to the fact that the colorant is an intrinsic component of the maturation process, which is happening over the space of many years. And as such, it is integrated gradually into the final result rather than being imposed suddenly at the bottling plant. So my question to you guys, he hates the coloring, but he's okay with the Pax Red. So is that all it takes for him to be okay with an additive that it's introduced slowly?
So Pax Red, they add to the barrel, they slosh it around. But really, what's the difference with a bunch of the companies now making sherry, putting it in a barrel, aging it for like 90 days, pouring it into a different barrel, dumping it out just so they can get a sherry barrel? Like, what's the difference of you're just flavoring the wood?
Yep. I don't see a big difference. But why is Ralfy okay with the Pax Red and not the coloring? Do you see a big difference, guys?
Pax Red's gone. I mean, they banned that many years ago for the E150. Like, so you can complain about it, but you can't do anything anymore because we just have the caramel color now.
Now, why did they ban it? Is it because someone with the Scotch Whisky Association decided they don't like it, just like Ralfy? They had a hate on for it. And maybe if Ralfy was ever in that position, he said he would have banned the E150A. So this person bans Pax Red for whatever reason. Maybe they should have or shouldn't have. But let's go with what Drew says. What's the difference between seasoning the cask? What's the difference between putting the cask in, dumping the sherry out, and pouring your spirit in immediately? And we found out from our last book club that the barrels retain between 4 and 8 liters of the liquid that was previously in it. So what's really the difference between doing that and just pouring 4 liters of port or sherry into the barrel? So I don't know where the problem is with Pax Red for some people and not for Ralfy. I know his coloring problem, but I see them as being very similar. Am I wrong?
Well, the only difference I could see in
my biggest question.
Go ahead, Dave. Finish up.
No, go ahead.
The only difference when you read about all those is it seems like the sherry and the Pax Red are almost a natural kind of a process, where the coloring, the E150, there's a bunch of chemical reactions going on with acids and alkalis, and I don't know if that's his problem. It seems a little more manufactured than what the other guys are doing, like the other processes are. But that's the only difference I can see.
But isn't it manufactured in the sense where you're seasoning a cask for 90 days? You're not actually making sherry. You're not actually making port. You're seasoning the cask. It's manufactured, and you're dumping the swill. It's the same idea.
But it's not like, I look at it as a chemical process. When you read how E150 is made with alkalis and acids and that kind of stuff, versus the other one is some must that's left over that they render it down, they cook it down.
But it's a chemical process. They're both chemical processes.
Well, I've been in the chemical business for years, and when you start adding acids and alkalis, I look at chemical reactions versus, let me take some leftover plant material and cook it.
And I think in the past, someone helped me out. It was just caramelized sugar. So it was different types of sugar, and they caramelized it and added that to it. So what's the difference between putting sugar in and the sherry?
Well, again, it's sugar that's been added some, like I said, acid and alkali. If you put that thing back up there on E150, it tells you right there. I look at that as a little, I look at it as not natural.
Well, an acid could be lemon juice as well, right? So that's an acid. So I see what you're saying, Dave, but I think that we can stretch this a little bit and try to see why it's different for him. And that would have been one of the questions. If Ralfy, you're out there and you see this, maybe you email me back and give me the answer to this, because I would really like to know what you think. All right. And sorry, Sean, I think I cut you off before. Sean? Oh, he might be.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, sorry, Sean. I can't hear you. All right. I'm going to go on to the next one. So, and we're going to start talking about festivals. And this is one of my favorite parts of the books because, as everyone on the panel knows, I really love my whiskey festivals. So I appreciate the information Ralfy gives us in relation to going to whiskey festivals in Chapter 9, specifically on page 125 to 127. He's got like point forms everywhere. So out of those, if you're not too offended by it, do you have a favorite? And I'm going to tell you what mine is. I'm going to read the quote. And actually, I'll put it up here on the banner for us.
What's the page?
That's 125 to 127. So here's the quote. No, that's not it. That's the one that Dave, sorry. That's the one we had before. All right. I'll take that off. I should have put that up before. Here's my quote. One should make time to go directly to the organizers and compliment them for the successful event and affirm how much and why you enjoyed it. So I never thought of doing that, but I think it's a great idea. One, because you get to go see the organizer and that. But if I'm at the Banff Whiskey Experience in September, I will make sure I go do that because we've talked, the organizers are there in these events and they're usually quite visible. I think it would be a good idea to actually go and do that. So I'm going to leave it up to the panel. Is there anything else that you saw that you would like to do as well?
Well, I thought most of them were common sense, but I do enjoy the idea of going and thanking our host.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a great idea.
So I'll read one, and I'll read it and then I'll clarify why I'm picking this one. But if a whiskey is not good, don't waste precious time with it. Pour it out of your glass, rinse your glass in water with water, and start again. All festivals should have a spittoon buckets available. So Dolph and I met at the Banff Whiskey Experience, and there was a spittoon bucket at every table, but you're standing there with the brand ambassador talking, you know, getting to learn about everything, and then you try it and you do not like it. Walk to another table and pour it out. I wouldn't do it right in front of them unless you're really suave with your words and you can play it off like you're, you know, wine tasting basically. But I don't know. I agree with that to an extent, but I wouldn't do it at the table. I would move on to another table, pour it, rinse, and then you know, take their offering.
All right.
Yeah, we see it a lot when we're doing shows. Guys always come to the booth, said, "Hey, can I dump this out?" That was, you know, they would move on, and that's just being courteous.
Yeah.
Not dumping it out in front of them.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. Although I can't remember the last time I dumped out a whiskey. But if I do in the future, I'll go somewhere else and dump it out.
If it's in my glass, it has a place to go.
Like the Edmonton Whiskey Festival, Banff, all the rest, they also have spittoons in the center area away from the table. So there's lots of places you can dump.
Good idea.
Okay, I have a question to ask then. Why wouldn't you dump at that table? Why not be honest with somebody? You know what? I may not like the whiskey you're pouring and say, hey, you know what? It's not for me.
And
why
tell
not
them
be
why.
honest? Yeah.
Yes.
And tell them why. Yeah.
So I support that. I would let them know if you don't like it or something, but I don't know. At least the way that I am, when you're gifted, and that's essentially what it is. You're gifted something. I mean, yeah, you pay for it, but they're taking the time to be there to pour it for you. To talk about the product with you. They're being as enthusiastic as possible. I see nothing wrong with being like, you know what, this really isn't my my dram, but if you take it and you walk away with the table for it, it gives off the impression that you're willing to give it another try, whether you do or not, whatever. But I've never been in the area of being, rude to the point of just dumping out the product that person's spending their livelihood to represent and endorse. I mean, it's no offense to them, but there's a way that you can easily let them know, hey, this isn't my thing, but I can give this another try, and walk around, give it a second opinion, and then absolutely dump it later if you don't like it. Like, there's a bottle of bourbon I will never buy again.
Yeah.
At all.
And you want to tell us which one?
American Barrel. Yes, I will tell you full on. The bottle is gorgeous. The product is, I don't even think I would disgrace it with Coke.
Yeah. That's like,
you're like me, you're influenced by pretty things, right? Oh,
the bottle is gorgeous.
The other side that I probably would let them know and most likely dump it at their table is if they have an entire lineup of drams. Because potentially the 12 I wasn't impressed with, but I might like the 15, 18, something else that they've got. So yeah, like, I don't know. So when last time I was down the States, somebody gave me I can't remember the name of it now. It's a bourbon, but it comes in like a metal paint can.
Still out.
Thing. Still, yeah, no.
So, I mean, go ahead, Drew.
Oh, no. It's just, it's it tastes like it probably is the paint stripper.
But I think Drew brings up a great point there, because when people say to me, yeah, this just wasn't right for me, then I have an opportunity to say, okay, well, explain that to me. Was it too peaty, too, like, oh no, it was this. Did you have anything else? I say, okay, well, now that I know where you stand, let me move you up or down, depending, because people come in and they'll pick something, and you always wonder, do these guys know what they're talking about, or don't they?
Yeah. See, but I'm going to piggyback off of Drew real quick. Obviously we don't really have that problem because we don't have like that much influence in the community. We might have a little bit, but we're all really nice at talking. Oh, Nicole, you could persuade someone to follow you easily. But we're all really good with our conversation. And I mean, Dolph and I met in line waiting to go see Davin.
Yep.
And it was all struck up over he had the book that I knew I was getting inside.
Which I stole anyways in there. I took more inside. That's okay.
But it's like, we all have a relative presence, and say some of our followers were standing in line with us and we were in front of them and they liked everything that we liked. They had the same profile. If we dumped it out at that table, or if Ralfy dumped something out at the table, it might persuade the people behind to, I'm not even going to bother and walk away. And it's one of those, like, again, I'm not trying to, say that we're holier than thou or anything, but perceptions can go in many forms. If I saw like 10 people pour out a whiskey at a table that I was about to walk up and get a whiskey, I'd be a little bit, worried about the product. But and that's where, like, Nicole is right. Yeah, tell them what you don't like about it, and then maybe they can say, hey, like, try this one. Like at the Dalmore booth, I tried their cigar finish, or their cigar one.
Yeah.
Cigar malt.
I'm not a smoker. I have a hard time picking out tobacco flavors. A very, very difficult time picking out tobacco flavors, and the cigar malt did nothing for me. I thought it was mustier than like a gym room, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And that was the one that I did pour out the table because they wanted to pour something out for me, and I didn't have a second glass. But there's moments like that. But I also had one person next to me, and it was just me and him, and we were talking. I looked at him like, this doesn't do it for me, and he's like, oh no, I understand. But if there's a big horde of people and you just happen to be at that moment, I don't know, consideration could go a long way.
Well, the ideal at those shows we would have time, we being the guys pouring liquor, would have the time to talk to you and say, what do you like? Like, what don't you like? And we could kind of direct you then. And
you know what, too? The other thing is your taste buds could be off that day. And something that you would typically go, yeah, this is my jam, it's not doing it for you.
Yeah.
So sometimes pointing it out and saying, okay, you know what, that's not doing it for me. I'm getting these flavors. Can you help me with something else? I like giving them feedback because inevitably there's going to be more than one bottle on that table.
Yeah. And potentially, if your example, 10 people in a row all dump out the same dram, the person behind the table is probably going to take a taste of it because maybe the cork's off. Maybe they're like, maybe that bottle is wrong.
I didn't even think of that.
You know?
Yeah, getting a cork bottle, they happen.
Yep.
I don't know if it was supposed to taste like tobacco at all, or if it was just supposed to pair really well with tobacco.
Well, I thought they said that. Yeah. Oh, I thought they said something about like the barrel had cigars tumbled in it or something.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
30-year-old.
I haven't heard that of the Delmore. The
Sherry Butts, Premier Cru, Cabernet Sauvignon, wine bear. No, I don't see anything.
Well, it still didn't do it for me. It was really musty for me.
It's just supposed to be the bolder flavors so that it'll stand up to a cigar.
That makes sense.
And I found it as a Dalmore, because I do appreciate the Dalmore line. I found it was probably my least favorite of any Dalmore I've ever had.
Ouch. All right. I'm actually just one last question.
Nice.
Oh, look at that.
When you're there though, and the reason why I probably wouldn't say something, although I, as a teacher, I'm okay telling people if something's wrong, usually, but at these events, I'm looking for a party atmosphere where I could have a lot of fun. Whereas Ralfy's he talked about the one where he passed out the night before and he couldn't remember what happened. He had 44 different malt notes that he actually had. I'm not like that. I lose my taste buds after the 6th or 7th out of the 40, 50 you try that night. And really, yeah, I'm going to still try them. And maybe I shouldn't have so many. But I really enjoy it. And it's a party atmosphere for me, really. And maybe if I'm if I'm pouring for Dave and I go to somebody beside me, I'm terribly honest with people at that point about the ones I like and dislike, because I'm not in the party atmosphere. I'm there to actually talk and do a job. So in my mind, I disconnect the two very quickly. It's either fun, and I try not to rock any boats when I'm fun, and sometimes that's the wrong thing to do. And other times I just, it's your job to do what's right at that point with the people around you, you think. Maybe my opinion's going to change a little bit because there's other things that happen in these environments, but I really try not to have fun.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
I just look at it, the fun atmosphere of the whiskey festivals. I really enjoy, because you don't like drinking whiskey when you're grumpy and unhappy. Mm-hmm. But I tend to use them more to find the ones I have never heard of, the brand new ones, all the rest. I do swing by every time, and I talk to Yukon Dave or whatever, anybody that I know at every one of the events. But I also like to find the ones I'd never heard of.
Yeah, and we're smart about it. You don't try the peat up front. You're not going to have the Octomore, the new Octomore, as you start in.
Oh yeah, it's the first one you grab.
You're going to start with the Thule and work around.
Yeah. But it's there's so many there. If you do not dump some of it, you're in quite the state by the end of the night.
Sean, I want to include you before I wrap things up. You've been to whiskey shows as well. Did you agree with something in particular that Ralfy said? And is there something that you like to do during these whiskey shows that maybe we didn't talk about yet?
I was lucky. The first 2 whiskey shows that I ever went to, I had one of my mentors, Josh, Know Your Whiskey. Everybody knows him.
Yeah,
he kind of led me and gave me a warning before, like there's dump stations. You can dump it out. Nobody's going to be offended. So yeah, the first one I ever went to in Calgary, I was pacing myself, did it really well. The problem is the night before, we had a private tasting with a ambassador, and then we were also staying at another guy's house, and the party just continued on. So we woke up the morning of the actual festival, and we were hurting. And then Danny ended up touring us around Calgary to every single whiskey shop, where every single shop insisted on pouring us stuff. So yeah, it was an interesting weekend. And by the time the show actually happened and we got in, like we did 2 master classes before the main event. Then the main event came, and by then we were all whiskeyed out, and we lasted maybe an hour and a half at that. But we did that. We did just what Drew was saying, is we went and found the stuff we hadn't heard of or had never tried, got that done with, had the big meal, and then kind of went and said hi to everybody that we knew, Travis and some of the other ambassadors, and then we just called it a night and went back and finished it with a glass of wine and a couple drams back at the house. But yeah, definitely pace yourself. And the one rule that I was taught the very first time, and I will tell every single person, is for every dram you put in there, whether you finish it or not, you fill at least half that Glencairn with water and down it after every single one.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That is a fantastic one for people to do. And I didn't start doing that till fairly recently, because you get dehydrated, especially with that amount. But guys, again, the hour's flown by. So it's been another fantastic start to our evening. Thanks to our fantastic listeners, all of our fellow malt mates out there, as Ralfy would say. Thanks again to the panel. Thanks for the panel for being patient with me, trying to get people in and out, trying to do that. We're going to be back next Saturday, June 6th, 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And next week is our final episode of Ralfy's book. We're Search for a Whiskybothy. We're doing chapters 10, 11, and the epilogue. So including Ralfy's Whiskey of the Year, not his Whiskey of the Year, the non-Ralfy Whiskey of the Year, because we didn't agree with him. We're doing something different. But Dave agreed, and Dave brought the 12 that he wanted to have. I think it was 2018 and 19. One of those. So we're going to do that. But please join us in 5 minutes for the after dram. It's the Talking Dead style debrief where we relax and we're a little bit more pointed with our questions, a little bit more pointed in our criticisms of each other and Ralfy in the book. And it's a little bit more fun. However, if you're not there, we need to see you next week. So have a fantastic night. Thank you very much to everybody. And you can't see Dave in the bottom, but Dave's waving by. Have a fantastic night, ladies and gentlemen. And cheers to you all. Thank you very much. And